Welcome back, everyone, to Breakfast at Wolferman's Bakery. So glad you can all join us today. I'm Francesco Bellato, inviting you to grab your coffee or your tea and a bite of breakfast and join us on today's conversation. Not only am I excited for today's topic, taking time for yourself, but I'm also really excited for today's guests, and I know you will be as well. Joining us are Liz Harris, owner of Floating Kitchen, a seasonal recipe and food photography website. Welcome, Liz. Great to have you here.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here at my favorite time of the day. So I'm a morning person.
Great. Well, we're excited to have you. Same here, morning person. And also Aisha Johnson, a digital content creator, speaker, and founder of AishaBo.com, a digital destination highlighting all things self-care for women of color. Aisha, it's a pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Same here. And next up, Joelle Gargiulo, an Emmy Award-winning reporter, producer, and a busy mom of two. Thanks for taking the time to have breakfast with us, Joelle.
Can you introduce us all the time, Francesco? You're amazing. Thanks for having us. Cheers.
Well, thanks, Joelle. As mentioned, today's topic is all about taking time for yourself. So let's start off this conversation with one thing that each of you like to do for yourself. Beyond the manicure and the haircuts, I'm talking about an actual inside-out self-care activity or experience that helps you. For example, are there any special morning routines you have? What is one major self-care tip you can share with us, Liz?
My number one self-care tip is getting out every morning and walking, getting the fresh air, and just connecting with yourself and the outside environment. I highly recommend it.
That's a great tip, and I'm looking forward to going for a walk later on today. So thanks for that. Aisha, how about you? What's one thing that works for you?
Yes, something that works for me is taking a moment to be present within myself. So that's a little deep breathing exercise that I do. I take a moment of stillness, put my hand on my heart, close my eyes, take a breath in for 5 seconds, and then out for another 5 seconds. And that just helps me to be calm and in my body.
I love that. I feel better just thinking about breathing. I'm going to do that next. Joelle, what is one thing that works for you?
Well, before you get out of bed in the morning, before you go to grab for your phone, make yourself lay there, and however much time you can give yourself. So whether it is 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever you can do, lay there and say, I am. And it could be anything. I am capable. I am smart. I am beautiful. Whatever you want, that little shift makes such a difference in your day.
It does. Thank you for that. And for those of you watching on your devices, please share your one tip with everyone here. Aisha, let's talk a bit more about wellness and self-care if we can. I want to dive in a little bit deeper here now. You have something that I read something. It's very interesting to me, and I'm sure a lot of people out there. Please speak to us about this destination addiction and how the idea of happiness lies somewhere else. Can you kind of elaborate on that some more and share with us how we can self-audit when we're doing that to ourselves?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like destination addiction is something that's so common and that we don't realize that we're doing all the time. So essentially, destination addiction is the preoccupation with the idea that your happiness lies in something else, like you said. So that I'll be happy when I get a new job. I'll be happy when I'm in a relationship. I'll be happy when I lose that weight, et cetera, et cetera. And it's essentially denying yourself the opportunity to have happiness right now. And I feel like if we all took a moment to realize that now is the most important time in our lives, then we'd feel so much happier and also be able to take in the everyday joy that we experience. And it's something that I've been working on and that I continue to work on. But just taking note of that has been so helpful for me in my self-care and self-love journey. So I try to share that with people very often to let them know that, you can have happiness right now. You deserve it.
Aisha, what are like 3 easy tips or easy ways to sort of combat this? I mean, is there any sort of like quick recipe or quick toolkit we could apply in our daily thinking?
Yeah, I think it's all about leaning into gratitude. gratitude is so important because I think when you really take in all the small things that you're grateful for and thankful for on a day-to-day basis, you're more likely to feel better. And something that I do at night is I write down 5 things I'm grateful for. And I know it sounds cumbersome. It sounds like a lot, but when you break it down into very small things, I am grateful for the sunshine after so many days of rain. I am grateful for my fiance cooking dinner tonight for once. I am grateful, just finding the small everyday pleasures, I think can really help you to focus and be more in the now. So gratitude is really important. I think another big thing is similar to what Joelle said, affirmations. So reciting specific mantras to yourself in a way that lets you feel and embody what it is that you aspire to have and to achieve. I am wealthy. I am loved. I am successful. I am confident. And saying those things to yourself in those moments can really help you to focus more on the now and who you are and what you can achieve. And then my third tip is, I think this is for those moments where you're really feeling out of yourself. You're really in that woe is me. It's really hard for me to find the happiness, or it's really hard for me to focus on the now. It's finding that moment of stillness. Sometimes we have to just stop. We have to allow ourselves that space to just breathe, be centered within ourselves, and to be present. And I think taking a moment, doing some deep breathing, breathing in for 5 counts, out for 5 counts, placing your hand on your chest so you can feel your heartbeat and feel that you are alive, you are here. I think that helps to really center you and ground you and bring you some clarity. I think if we took more time for rest, it would help us to be more motivated, more inspired, because you're allowing yourself that space to recharge and to tell yourself it's okay, and give yourself that permission to give everything that you know you have.
I
I
think
know that
that's
was
awesome.
a long-winded way of giving 3 tips, but
Not at all. Not at all. Aisha, I think we should take that advice right now. And if you'll count us to 5, I think we should all collectively, for all of you watching as well, let's take that 5 minutes to just self-care and actually make this an interactive breakfast. Ready, Aisha? Count us down to 5. Let's touch our souls and go. Breathe in and out.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I feel better.
I feel better.
I feel lighter. I feel lighter just from that. I'm listening
Just
to you.
listening. Yeah.
Excellent advice. So simple, it's complicated sometimes too for most of us. So we appreciate that. And I know something that I'm definitely grateful for is food. And that is sometimes leads to my happiness. That is the forefront of my life, sometimes food. Liz, your Instagram feed is a work of art. Everything always looks so beautiful, inspiring, obtainable, mouth-watering. For some people, that can be a little bit intimidating to create something, or whether to prepare something new, or even to prepare and present a meal to themselves in a more stylized way. For example, sometimes I would just love to eat mac and cheese right out of the pot, right? But when I fight that feeling and I serve it in a bowl and I use a linen napkin and a placemat, just for me, it really does feel like a self-care moment. Not the cheese and butter part, totally not self-care. But the fact that I valued myself enough to actually use more serving pieces and dry clean only linen. Can anyone else relate to this? Comment below.
Yes.
I would love to know what your mac and cheese out of the pot is. I mean, it's like... We've all been there.
But cooking, the dry clean only linen. You had it there.
Totally. But cooking can be a form of self-care, right? So, knowing that you have something to eat and that you're, treating yourself and all that stuff. So Liz, talk to us about this recipe, apple crisp toast. I think you prepared it. Can we have a peek?
I sure did. Here it is. It's making my house smell just like fall. The inspiration behind it was, one, it's apple season. I love apples and I love apple crisp. And I thought to myself, how can I have apple crisp at all times of the day, including breakfast? So I turned it into a toast recipe. The base for this recipe is a Wolferman's English muffin bread. It's really nice and thick, so it's the perfect base for a toast with a lot of sturdy toppings like this. I start by making a maple syrup and cinnamon flavored cream cheese spread. You can make this up to a week in advance. And then the next layer is sauteed apples. These are cooked in cinnamon and maple syrup. Again, all those great fall flavors. I use about a half an apple per toast. And then finally, because this is a crisp recipe after all, we have to have a crunchy topping. So I make a little stovetop crisp topping. It's essentially like a granola, and put that on for some crunch. And there you go.
Awesome. This is something that I think would be a crowd pleaser in any household, right?
Yes.
Especially with kids too, I can imagine. Are there any substitutes to any of these ingredients? Like if someone has an allergy, or if there's, do you have another variation you would recommend?
Yeah, so as I said, with the granola, you can definitely just make it nut-free very easily. Just either leave the walnuts out or substitute for seeds if you'd prefer. And the cream cheese base, if anyone doesn't like cream cheese, you could use a ricotta. You could whip that with maple syrup and cinnamon, or use another sweetener. I'm a New Englander, so we have maple syrup running through our our veins at all times. But you could use agave or honey, any kind of little sweetener that you want. And then as we transition through the seasons, you could use sliced pears instead of sliced apples and make it more like a pear crisp. It's very amenable. Once you get the base parts down, you can switch them out however you want, which is something I really like about this recipe.
How do you maintain it afterwards? So you make a whole pie, you're by yourself, right? Or crisp toast. How do you store it, and how long can you store it? Do you keep it in the fridge, on the stove? Can you freeze it for a special occasion a month in advance? Any tips there?
So, well, the granola and the cream cheese spread, you can make those up to a week in advance. Obviously, the cream cheese I keep in the refrigerator. The granola, you can keep it room temperature. I just cover it. I do recommend sauteing the apples fresh right before you're going to put them on the toast, because they will lose a little bit of their structure over time. And then of course, making the toast fresh as well that morning. But those things only take 5 minutes. So
That's awesome. No, I appreciate it. Thank you. I can't wait to try this recipe myself. And Joelle, I mean, Liz said this could maybe take about 5 minutes, right, to make this. So as a mom who's busy, I mean, anyone who knows you or follows your life on social media can tell within a few posts that you're never truly in Zen mode. From a busy work schedule, interviewing celebrities, touring New York hotspots, being a sought-after media coach, raising 2 active girls, plus your constant home remodeling updates, all while having your hair done and your lashes and a huge smile on, not to mention taking time to be a wife, a daughter, a sister, a good friend, and so much more. Joelle, how do you balance a busy life and find new meaning with self-care? And will you be making this recipe later today? I need to know.
Listen, I challenge you, Francesco, to make the recipe, and then I'm gonna come over to your apartment, and then we could have it together. But no, or we can make it together. How does that sound?
I'll do you one better. Let's hop in the car and go do a curbside pickup at Liz's. She's not too far away.
Liz,
I'm actually coming to New York this weekend, so maybe I'll deliver.
Wow. Well, if you have that with you, we will welcome Master out. Yeah.
We'll meditate with Aisha first, and then we will indulge. We'll indulge next with Liz.
Cool. Yeah.
Absolutely. That apple crisp toast looks amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, Joelle, how did you find a new meaning of self-care, and when was the major turning point in your life when you recognized you needed a break and to give yourself a little bit of grace?
Yeah, no, thank you for asking that, Francesco. I will say for me, pre-kids, balance existed, right? Balance existed, self-care existed. And I have definitely struggled since having children to find balance. I don't know if balance in the true form exists for me, but you actually told me something, and this has been so instrumental for me. You were like, Joelle, and you say this to everybody, stop wearing your stress as a badge of honor, right? Like we're always saying, I got to do this. I did this. I did this. I did this. I did this today. And this, like, hold on a second, just take a minute. So my balance now really is listening to my mind and listening to my body, because it tells you when you're burnt out, and I'm learning to respond. And I would love to say that I have this down to a science, but I don't, but I'm a work in progress. And that right there, just giving myself that grace, which I say to everybody, give yourself grace. That's been really helpful. So for me, it's listening. Listening, right? Like, and even some days, you know how it is, there are certain days where we're stuck sitting down. Like, listen to yourself, get up, just go outside, even if it's for 5 minutes, just soak in the sun if it's sunny out, or just breathe in the air. Like, there's little things that you can do that I think make a big difference. For me, if we want like some of my steps that I do, if I catch myself just off, and this is so silly, and if you guys want to do it with me, we'll all look ridiculous, but I promise you it works. I go and I either like look at one of my kids, or I look at myself in the mirror, or I pull out my phone and I just smile for 6 seconds. And like, let's do it. Let's do it now.
Good one. That's really good.
It's ridiculous, but tell me you don't feel better, right?
Definitely feel better after a smile, Joelle. Thank you. How can we tell if we are truly multi-hyphenate though, or just not focused? Do you have a little way to measure that?
I think you just have to reevaluate and cut out the clutter. And that is hard, but you almost need to do an inventory of your life, right? And like, look at where you're giving your time. And again, this is stuff that I learned from you, but I've had to take a hard look at that. I realized I was spreading myself so thin, and then there's nothing left for me. So think, what is really important? Also, not for nothing, what can you outsource? The stuff that maybe takes up time, like it takes up so much time and it's not worth your time. Figure out how to outsource that. My thing is too, like, again, I'm going to say it again, give yourself grace. If your kids can't bath that day, but you know what? You had a great time with them. Guess what? It's okay. If you don't have the perfect meal, well, we'll call Liz. No, like it's okay. Like, these things they're okay. And just give yourself that permission to be okay. But take inventory of your life the way that you would do it if somebody asked you to do it for them. That's it. Like flipping the switch like that, for me, that's a game changer. This is something I wish I could say that like I came up with this. I didn't come up with this, but somebody also told me this. They said, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling like there's too much stuff and you don't know how you're going to do all of it, just put your feet on the ground, stop where you are and look at your feet. And there's something about just seeing where you are in that moment and telling yourself, this is where I'm meant to be. So I'm going to be here right now. And maybe if it's just for 5 minutes that I could be fully present with whomever I am with, or whatever task I'm trying to accomplish, give it your all, right? Like if you're trying to do 14 things at once, like maybe one will get done. But if you do one at a time, then the next, and the next, and the next, you got a better shot. So again, like I'm still working on all of this, and it's been hard. There were times the past year and a half where I was like paralyzed because I didn't know how to get through. And so these little things are helping me. And I think we got to share our secrets. Like some secrets are meant to be shared. So
those are great tips, great advice, Joelle. So we have smile for 6 seconds. We want to outsource. I love that. And we want to offer ourselves some grace. And if all else fails, look down at your feet, take some time, but then go schedule the pedicure, right? Get a little extra self-care.
I was going to say that. Look, Mike could use a little work right now, but I know where I am, and I'm happy to be here.
And everyone watching, our friends that are watching on your devices, please join along. Any tips you have to creating balance in your life, please share them in the comments below. We would love to know, and maybe you'll be helping someone else as well. This has been a topic that I could talk about much longer, but then we'd have to change the marquee to lunch at Wolferman's Bakery. Thanks to our guests, Aisha, Liz, and Joelle for sharing so much with us today. And thanks to all of you for watching and sharing your time. Tune in to our next episode in October for some beautiful, see what I did there, Halloween fun. Take care of yourself and each other. Cheers.
You're the best.
Cheers.